It has been one of those days. One of those days where I don't really want to go anywhere, but I had to go. I had to go places. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Chris Best with OMD Turnbuckle Talk. OMD, have you ever had one of those days where all you wanted to do was just stay home, but you had to go out? I think he still has the music rolling. Oh, do you? You're back. You're there.
I I think so. Yeah, I've had one of those days. I had that day on Sunday, but I didn't go anywhere. I saved that for Monday.
Yeah, in my case though, it was something I needed to do right away.
Right.
Otherwise, for the rest of the month, I'd be stuck at home. I had to go downtown and buy my monthly bus pass. And
Right.
today was just I woke up this morning, first of all I wanted to do was just lounge on my couch all day, eat a bag of
Yep.
chips and game. You know?
Yep.
But come 1 o'clock, I'm like, I got paid today. I have to go buy my bus pass. you know?
Yep.
It was just so tell me about your work day today, brother.
My work day, it was really, really quiet customer wise, but
hmm
I personally had a very, very physical day. Any customers we did get today was primarily wanting pillows. Um, but I had to fix a base that was in the platform bed that was in the back,
hmm
trying to vacuum the store. Then I get a 38 or a 35 piece truck this at 4 o'clock this afternoon that I had to unload because my guys were out on delivery,
Right.
all that fun stuff. So it was a physical day, even though I did spend at least half of it sitting.
hmm
It was still just a physically tiring day.
Just one of those days where uh, there was nothing going on, but there were still things going on.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, I know what those days are like too. It's um, when I worked at Sears, we there would be days where there was nothing to do, but we'd make things for us to do,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's one of those situations of there's never nothing to do, there's always something.
hmm
Um, And I know there's a lot of places that are going to tell you if you've got time to lean, you've got time to clean. No, you guys need to be able to take your breath. I've been there.
Yeah. This is why when I go into the workforce, right? When I go and get a job, this is why I always say eating 3 square meals a day will totally help you out in your work on your work day. Having that
Yep.
breakfast before you go to work, making sure you have a good lunch while you're at work, and then the dinner you have when you come home helps you
My
out
my
big time.
my breakfast is water that is filtered through ground coffee beans every day.
So usually when I'm usually in the workforce, we'll use when I worked at Shoppers Drug Mart, for instance. My days there would start at 9 a.m. and end at 3.
Yeah.
So even though the shoppers I worked at was about a 10-minute walk from me, I'd still get up at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
That way I have time to shower, I've got time to eat, and I've got a little bit of time for myself to watch TV or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that whole morning routine, taking care of yourself before you go to work.
Yeah.
And by the time I would get to work, I'm ready to go. My brain is just clicked in, and I've got a good lunch. Usually my lunch was my leftover dinner from the night
Right.
before. So, and we got Bobby Stats coming in saying, "Hello guys, how's it going, Bobby? Glad to have you on the show." He's also saying, I'm lagging just a tad here. He's saying my day today was like I went to the dentist this was like he was like I
You
went to
went.
the dentist this morning, and then he had a picnic with his friends. That's cool, man. That's really cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
There was one part of my day though that I did enjoy. So For me, when I have to go and buy my bus pass, I have to go downtown to Huron Street, where the transit office is. Kind of wish I don't have to do that every month, but it is what it is.
Do they not do them at the terminal anymore?
No, everything is at Huron Street. If it was that
Wow.
way, I would have gone to Rome's just down the road here because Rome's used to do it for the city as well.
Right.
But I found myself sitting at the bus stop outside of Huron, outside the Huron Street office, and just taking a moment and enjoying the scenery around me, and it was just
Right.
kind of serene. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But on that note, speaking of serene, we got things that are not so serene in the wrestling world today to talk about. So, what do you
That
say
we
we get
do.
right? What do you say we get
Let's.
right into it?
I'd say it's showtime, folks.
So, our first story I would like to talk about, just because it's the first story that I see in our personal chat. WWE has filed a trademark, a very interesting trademark at that too. WWE has taken significant steps ahead of the anticipated return of one Saturday night's main event to NBC. Applying for a new trademark, as they applied for a brand new trademark for the term. The trademark was filed on September 9th, and it covers a wide range of merchandising, including clothing, tops, shirts, jackets, sweatshirts, hoodies, coats, bottoms, pants, shorts, underwear, pajamas, and more. Footwear, shoes, sneakers, slippers, flip flops, boots, and a plethora of accessories like hats, caps, wristbands, bandanas, scarves, and even Halloween costumes.
Right.
This just makes me so excited to see Saturday night's main event coming back under Hunter's regime this time.
Yes. Yes. This was something we had heard of a while ago that they were producing 4 annual specials for NBC
Mm-hmm.
for prime time. We speculated back then that it might be Saturday night's main event. It does make sense. I just hope that you're not doing these Saturday night's main events trying to coincide with a PLE that same weekend or something coming up the following weekend. I hope you're not doing it to try and counter a pay-per-view from another company.
Well, with how long they run their pay-per-views do they even run their pay-per-views on Saturdays? I'm talking all empty wrestling here.
They did last weekend,
Okay.
but usually it's on a Sunday.
Because the first rumored one is set to air in December.
Right?
WWE does not have a pay-per-view in September, or in December, I mean.
No, they don't.
Um, I'm thinking that I've been trying to figure out how I would do Saturday night's main event in this day and age. And we're in a day and age where it's actually a little bit unpredictable as to which months are going to get pay-per-views now. Because it used to be, for us growing up, one pay-per-view a month for the most part.
See, and I mean, you and I can date back to when it was 4 a year.
Yeah. But
Um,
here's what they would do during those months that didn't have the pay-per-views. That's where Saturday night's main event came into play.
yes. Um, again, and I do hope that these are not going to be 3 and 4 hour long shows because we don't need them. I think there's too many PLEs already.
Mm-hmm.
Between everything on the main roster, plus the NXTs, plus the international shows. So
I
I'm
would
not
do.
counting. I'm counting the Saudi, the Australian shows like Bash in Berlin. Um, So, I mean, we're looking at already having what the equivalent of about 18 to 24 PLEs a year.
Right, but here's how I would do this, and I've been thinking about this all day. How I would do Saturday night's main event. Do it just like they did in the 80s. 11:30 p.m. at night on Saturdays. Have your top star wrestle the opening match. That would be Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes, whoever. And then finish it off with the rest of the matches. You would wrap up. They would wrap up by about 12:30, I think, that night, and that'd be it. They would take over where Saturday Night Live wasn't going to do a show.
Right. So I can't see them running at 11:30 at night.
But they did that in the 80s.
That was then. I think if you are still in that target demographic of you're trying to reach the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that we have seen the changes under the Paul Levesque era. I think we are going to see it probably be an 8 p.m. showtime. I would even be okay with a 2-hour showtime, 8 till 10. I don't want to see it be a 3-hour show similar to a PLE.
Right.
But I'm going to say this. I think that you could take some PLEs that don't necessarily need them and put them there.
Right.
I would, for me, like as much as I want to see a Money in the Bank go back to WrestleMania, put Money in the Bank on a Saturday night's main event. Put something like Extreme Rules if you decide to go back and run that on Saturday night's main event.
Here's another thought that I have too. I mean, you could still run a Saturday night's main event on a month that does have a PLE, but you could put the wrestlers who aren't booked on that PLE onto that show. So, like, let's say LA Knight is in a feud with Tama Tonga, we'll say, for the U.S. title,
Right.
and they don't the match isn't quite PLE ready yet, so you can throw it on to a Saturday night's main event and be fine there. But going back to what you were saying about for the kids, I mean, when they used to run the Saturday night's main event at 11:30 p.m. on NBC's in the 80s, they put Hogan on first because Hogan was for the kids. So Hogan would have his match, and then after the match, the parents can send the kids off to bed while the parents watch the rest of Saturday night's main event. I know this because my mom used to do that for me, but she would tape the rest of the show because I didn't want to see just Hogan. I wanted to see everybody else on that show.
Right. Right. And I do remember it being at 11:30, but I also remember it not from the most recent runs, but moving to an 8 o'clock time slot.
Yeah, the most recent runs were the 8 o'clock ones, and those were really stupid episodes.
I am actually talking even before that, because I remember I watched Shawn Michaels and British Bulldog main event at like 10 p.m. at night.
You're talking about when Fox moved, when Saturday night's main event moved to Fox. Because I do remember that one, and the one I remember is when Sid and Hogan teamed up against Taker and Ric Flair.
Yeah, see,
and Sid turned on Hogan, and that led to the WrestleMania 8 match.
Right.
That was also the same show where Undertaker later on that night turned babyface by helping Randy Savage from Jake the Snake attacking him.
Right.
Jeez, there's my Mr. Data coming into play there. But no,
Yeah.
I'm actually very excited about this. There's a part of me that wants to see it, see that first show set up like old school Saturday night's main event with the old school theme song, because they still have that theme song. I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
Because on 2K24, Bray Wyatt comes out to the original Saturday night's main event theme, one of the versions of Bray Wyatt that you can play as.
Nice. No, I'm interested to see how they do it. I would love to see the old WWE light up entranceway.
Mm-hmm. The hanging banners about around the ring would be cool to
Yeah,
see.
I don't want to see it become a rehash of what they tried to do in the early 2000s.
Yeah, that was a bit of a mess, especially the Matt Hardy Evander Holyfield episode.
I
That one
don't
was
even
just,
remember that.
yeah, that was really weird. They randomly decided to have Evander Holyfield have a boxing match with Matt Hardy. I don't know where they were going with that. I really don't know.
Next, we should. Why didn't they have Evander Holyfield and Butterbean team up to take on Matt Hardy and Bart Gunn? Oops,
Yeah.
did I go there too soon?
Oh, geez. Yeah, but this excites me, especially seeing the merch because no, not gonna lie, Saturday night's main event, that logo alone is one of my favorite logos. And if they are gonna
Right.
make classic Saturday night's main event shirts, I'm probably gonna go on WWE Shop and buy it and buy one myself.
Now, I do want to ask this because it would be going to NBC, which owns the USA network, and USA is going to be carrying SmackDown starting this Friday. Is Saturday night's main event going to be SmackDown exclusive, SmackDown centric, or is it going to be a mix of all three brands?
I would mix all three brands because of the fact that we are still in an age where not everybody has a streaming service, right?
Right,
We're still in an age where not a lot of people are going to be able to access Raw once it goes to Netflix.
right,
So by having the Saturday night's main event, you could showcase your Raw guys, your SmackDown guys, and your NXT guys, and not necessarily have like them fighting each other. Like I don't want to see a Raw guy fighting a SmackDown guy unless there was some kind of a trade that Pierce and Aldis did.
right,
I would rather I would rather see it set up kind of like a small PLE where we still get like SmackDown versus SmackDown, Raw versus Raw, and you can still do it in the 1 hour. You can do one match from NXT, one match from SmackDown, one match from Raw. There's your 1 hour right there. Three
right,
matches, couple of promos in between, and that's the other thing I want to see in the opening is those old school promos that they used to do.
right,
Those last minute like hype promos that they would do before going into the theme song and then the show, you know?
right. See, I would see it being at least a 2 hour show now
Mm-hmm. I could
with
see where.
probably four matches.
Mm-hmm. Would you put? Would you? What would you do for your first show? Would you put one of the heavyweight titles on the line in that first show?
No, I don't think so. I would do the Intercontinental or the US title.
Because let's put things into perspective here. Usually, and I'm hoping I'm a little bit wrong here. Between October and January, the Royal Rumble, we don't have a title. We don't have titles. The title defenses or the heavyweight title being defended on a PLE, or usually even sometimes a Raw or SmackDown. So that's 3 months without a championship match.
Right. And keep in mind, next year the Royal Rumble is February 1st.
Yeah.
So
Well,
right now we are
I'm
looking at, we go from October 5th to November 30th between Bad Blood and Survivor Series.
and I'm not saying Survivor Series for a title defense because usually the heavyweight champions are in War Games. So
Right.
usually,
But then you go from November 30th, the end of War Games, to February 1st. December and January without a PLE.
mm-hmm. So you can use that Saturday night's main event to hype a championship match. Whomever has
Good.
the title.
I'm even going to say this. How about have some Royal Rumble qualifiers?
I would totally do that too. I would have a. There's an interesting thought. So this is something I've been saying would be nice to see once again, and that would be you take two wrestlers who are going to be in the Royal Rumble, You have them battle it out. The loser has to be the first entrant. The winner becomes the 30th entrant.
See, and
It's only been
again,
done once before.
I think that that concept is antiquated.
It's only happened once.
They make the match. I mean, they haven't done it in a number of years, but they used to make that match. There was a match like that every year.
No, the only match they ever had was the winner gets number 30, not the loser gets the first entrant.
So,
That
but
match has only happened once, and that was Duke the Dumpster Drosy and Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
well, I mean, again, I'm not a fan of that concept. To be honest, I like the randomness.
Right.
I think that maybe on Saturday night's main event, you bring back somebody who has been on the shelf for a while as a surprise return to open the show.
Okay. Regardless, though, I really hope that there's some kind of an old school vibe. I want to see the for the ring. I want to see the blue apron, the red, white, and blue robes, the old school turnbuckles.
Right?
I want to see. I kind of want to see it set to an old school style. Even hell,
Yeah.
even bring back the metal ring barriers. Yeah. But yeah, I'm tremendously excited about this. I mean, when I first read it, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit leery about it because, I mean, let's face it, the last time they made that, they tried to bring
Right.
Saturday night's main event. The first one was good. The rest were crap.
I'm intrigued, but I am skeptical.
Yeah.
Now, we are in a new regime, a new era, so I can definitely see some improvements on it, but
Right.
it's going to be a matter of how are they for time?
Right. Give me 1 second here.
What is going to be the premise behind each of these four? Like, is it going to be to fill space when you don't have a PLE?
And yeah, and again, that's not a bad thing that they do that, like
No, it's not.
it'd be similar in vein to me for um uh when NXT has their specials when they don't have a PLE that month.
Right.
And I kind of like I've been saying that at least Raw or SmackDown should do that on months where they don't have PLEs. And frankly, I'm actually
Right.
more fine with a Saturday night's main event coming in and taking place
Right.
because you can use that month to hype up the Saturday night's main event instead.
Right.
And to your point there, I don't think the more I'm thinking about it, I think I wouldn't mind a 2-hour one. We've seen Saturday night's main events in the 80s that went like almost an hour and a half anyways.
Yep.
Um,
Speaking of time constraints,
that's the segue right there. Last night it was confirmed, and we questioned you when you first said it. And we actually looked up our sources, but Raw is going back to 2 hours for the time being, starting sometime in October. I'm trying to look for where that article was, by the way.
it was, I believe, October 1st is a Tuesday, so it would be the following Monday, which would be the 6th, I believe, or the 7th. The 7th.
Yeah, I'm curious about this one because in the last couple of years, Triple H has been killing it as far as making Raw, as far as 3-hour Raws.
Right.
And I've read into this, and I know that it's because WWE, the USA Network is preparing for the loss of Raw. That's
Right.
what the whole thing is. When they go back to Netflix, it's already been stated they are going to go back to the 3-hour thing.
Right.
It's also stated too that the times that Raw comes to an end may vary.
Yes.
So
Well, and I was going to ask with this move on USA's part, because we know that they are picking up from October to January. Otherwise, Raw
Mhm.
wouldn't have had a home for 3 months.
Yeah.
Um, no, we know that this week they're in the midst of 7 hours of WWE programming on the USA Network.
Hmm.
They are preparing now to drop to 2 hours a week at the start of October from five.
Right. I'm really
Uh,
curious about how Hunter's going to handle booking the 2 hours as opposed to the 3 hours, because that means that there's a lot of storylines that are going on right now that are going to be put on the back burner, I would have to assume.
Not necessarily. I think, like, for example, last night we saw a very Judgment Day centric episode of Raw.
Yeah, and it was actually fine that they did that because
It was.
it reaffirmed the dominance of the Judgment Day.
It did. But I think you can go back and, okay, we're going to do this week. Next week, you're going to get 1 or 2 3-minute segments as opposed to half an hour of airtime.
That's the other thing
Um,
that's the other thing that scares me too, is match time is going to be cut quite a bit.
Honestly, I don't think so. I think it'd be promo time that gets cut.
Or maybe match amount. Match amount is definitely going to be cut for sure.
The other thing that I would like to see is maybe you get. We wanted to go talk about old school. Why don't we get those little promo boxes in the bottom corner as they're making their entrance?
I love those things. Those were my favorites. Just watching like Ted DiBiase cutting a promo while Macho Man was in the ring or something like that.
Right?
Bobby Stats coming in and saying maybe some talent will wrestle on WWE main event tapings if they're not getting booked on Raw. That's true too. Actually,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
completely forgot about the main event tapings,
I mean,
speed tapings as well.
yep. Prime example of those little boxes. Let's look at our screen layout.
Yeah, our
Get
little
these little promos. Yep. I mean,
or
I'm
you know
not
what
promo
actually
on you, but
actually what I think I actually can see going on is they're just going to take a look at what they're doing on SmackDown and just apply that to Raw.
yeah,
SmackDown still gets like the big stories, and they still get their points across with those big stories, and they still leave you wanting more, which is what Raw does as well in those three
yes,
hours.
yes, and
They're probably going to cut down like last night we saw like what, like three segments involving the Judgment Day. Maybe
at
they're probably
least
going to cut that down to two. You know what I mean?
right. Um, Now, you did mention that, yes, they are going to start on Netflix back to the 3 hours. We know that there have been numerous complaints over the years of the 3 hour runtime, whether it was talent wanting it to go back to 2 hours, whether it was the IWC, the casual fan. So, why not, instead of varying the times, going from 3 hours one week to 2 hours the next week? Because as a fan, I want consistency. I don't want fluctuation.
I think what they mean by the fluctuation is that they're still going to do 3 hours, but maybe some episodes are going to have overrun.
Yeah, but like from what I saw earlier, is that some weeks it may be two.
Hmm.
I would rather, if you're going to do that, cut it to a 2.5 hour showtime,
Mm-hmm.
or do a 2 hour Raw, but then on Raw Talk or whatever you have, what's continued after the show.
Yeah.
Um, as opposed to this fluctuation, because I want the stability. I don't want to be getting geared up, and we put in at least close to 4 hours every Monday night between the breakdown
Yeah.
and the Raw Patrol.
Yeah. And to be fair, it's actually a lot more than 4 hours that we actually put together because it's about an hour of preparing the show itself. Like
Right.
to open the curtain to the behind the scenes a little bit. It's for me when I'm putting together things, it takes me about an hour to get everything together as far as like finding out the matches, where the show is taking place, waiting for Adam Pierce to make a last minute announcement. And then there's putting the descriptions together, creating the live room, and then
Right.
putting all the overlays in. The overlays are like 5 minutes, so
Right.
um, at the same time, going back to this 2 hours, it might tighten up the show a little bit more.
Right.
And I'm excuse me. There's a part of me that still worries that we're not going to get enough of all of the superstars. But as Bobby Stats said, so maybe some wrestlers can be booked up main event tapings. Here's the other thing, like I think back to like the championships that could be in trouble because of this, and I think of like the women's tag belts maybe could be in trouble because of this. But again, it wouldn't hurt to put a title match on main event. It wouldn't
No.
hurt.
What I'm wondering, and I want to harken back to the early days of AEW.
Right.
When they first came out, you would get Cody on one episode of Dynamite. The following week you'd get the Young Bucks. The following week you'd get Kenny Omega, and then it goes back. So you don't need to have the same guys repeating on each episode.
Right.
You could build new stories, new plots, as opposed to having it being the Judgment Day every week, American Alpha. Don't get me wrong, I love the Judgment Day, or not American Alpha, American Made, the Wyatt Six. You could do week in, week out, and then eventually they'll cross paths on some other.
And here's where those promos could come into play. Like we can, in between matches, maybe if the Wyatt Six aren't actually scheduled to be at the show, do a video package to promote the feud that they're currently doing or the next feud that they're going into. You know,
Right.
because I'm thinking if you're a main event team like the Judgment Day, you probably do want them there every week. So,
Right.
but yeah, I'm very intrigued. I'm curious to see that. It's going to lighten our workload a little bit over here at Turnbuckle Studios
Yep.
until the move to
Absolutely.
Netflix,
Yes.
where again, where it says the time may vary, and that word, the word vary, kind of frightens me a little bit too, because
Right.
like you, OMD, I am a fan. I like a little bit of stability. I like knowing that that Raw is going to end at 3 hours.
Yeah.
Um,
Now,
I got used to the stability back in the Attitude Era when we used to have the overrun because JR would tell us, okay, we're going over a little bit with our show.
right. The other thing that I'm going to say this is if you're going to look at doing that flex time, I guess, on Netflix, then just make it a 2.5 hour show.
Mm-hmm.
Or, maybe you overrun by 5 minutes or undercut by 5 minutes, but in and around that 3 hour mark would be ideal. Or, yeah, just set time.
I feel like right now though it's a little too early because like it does say they are saying that times will vary, but I feel like Netflix is going to be like, no, we want 3 hours and that's going to be it, you know.
And we hope so.
But all in all, I'm intrigued for the 2 hours. I really do think that they're just going to book it similar to SmackDown because maybe they put Raw. I mean, they're going to still push all the major storylines, but Raw is going to be in a bit of a holding pattern over the next few months until the move to Netflix happens.
Right.
Um, I do hope that they give the viewers what they want in those 2 hours still. What I
Yes,
want to see come back, though, and we haven't seen this in ages, is show long storylines. I still want to see those come back.
I'm good without them.
I kind of liked them because that was what kept me intrigued on in the Attitude Era, especially the episode where Vince McMahon was taken hostage by Stone Cold for 2 hours
Right.
because Stone Cold wanted a contract, and then he brought Vince out to the ring and threatened to murder him right in the middle of the
Oh, I
ring.
know. I remember the episode. I remember it vividly.
I
Bang
kind of
316.
yeah. Um, I wouldn't mind seeing how they do that in today's era because I think that might be interesting as well. And we kind of got that last night too with the Judgment Day, and they're taking out everybody with the exception of Jey Uso.
Right.
Everybody that wronged them the week before, you know.
Right.
So yeah, 2 hours. When did you say that was going to be? October the
October, I
6th,
believe it's going to be the 7th, which is the Monday.
right?
The only reason I know that it's a Monday is because the 6th is my birthday.
All right then. Let me see here. Yeah, so our next segment here. So we've talked rumor mills for as far as the length of Raws. I want to cover something that's been bugging me all week, and that's to do with the season premieres of Raw, of SmackDown, and that's the rumor mills that have been going around as far as the IWC goes. We've heard rumors that SmackDown is going to be pushed to 3 hours. We've heard rumors that the SmackDown Fist is coming back. I'm here to tell you guys, none of that's true.
Right.
The SmackDown Fist, okay, so the rumor I read about the SmackDown Fist was that the USA Network demanded the SmackDown Fist come back. And so I did an old search on the old Google machine when I read that, and there was nobody reporting that. Not even WWE has reported that. It's not coming back, folks. Nothing from the Attitude Era is coming back. Let it die.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see the Fist make a return for an old school SmackDown.
Yeah, that'd be fine. That's cool.
As I mean, I've also heard that they were considering going back to the original stage design when they moved over to Fox for SmackDown, which
Oh,
was hideous.
the oval stage sign stage setup. I mean,
No, the when they moved back to Fox for this 5-year deal that's just wrapped up, where they had those lighting bars at the top of the entrance ramp, and there was like 4 of them to walk through.
oh, I thought that was all right, but oh, you're talking about the things that look like the St. Louis arches hanging over the ring or over the entrance. Oh, that one looked retarded.
Yeah.
Um,
I admit I bought into hearing that it was only the season premiere, and I bought into hearing that the season premiere was going to be 3 hours.
yeah, and I immediately dispelled that rumor on you, and I'm sorry if it seemed like I attacked you on that one, but I knew it wasn't true right away. But no, SmackDown is not going to 3 hours, and that's because for everyone out there who's heard these rumors and believe them to be true, that's only because after SmackDown on Fridays, there's a show on the USA Network called
The Anonymous.
thank you, The Anonymous.
It is also on Mondays right after Raw.
Yeah, so they've geared that 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock hour for that show. And also this Friday, they're also having a special airing of the Fast and the Furious 9. So there's no way SmackDown is going 3 hours with those
No.
airings happening. Um, yeah, so I'm here to squash those rumors. It's going to be a simple 2 hour show. We're still going to get a fantastic show. I mean, Cody and Solo in the cage. I'm totally looking forward to that match.
Right?
um, yeah, so I'm here to squash those rumors. It's not happening. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And speaking of moving on, what do you say we move on to our
On his feet. Oh my God in heaven!
That's our Showstopper segment, and I'm betting JR's voice is repeating in OMD's head for a little bit there.
Nope.
Oh,
The first time tonight I haven't had audio issues.
so we're talking, yeah, that's actually shocking. We're talking PWI 500, top of the charts. That's the name of this episode, and that's
Yes.
why I've got the top 10 list here. I've had a quick glance at the top 500, and I'm going to go through these from number 10 to number 1.
Now,
And
I
number
do
10
have to ask, did our friend Chris Parrish make the list again?
I didn't see him. I also did a quick scan to look for new names to learn about as far as wrestling goes. But from number 10 to number 1, number 10, we've got Mystico. This one perplexes me because I kind of stopped watching Mystico after he left the WWE.
Right?
Or is this the other Mystico that we're talking about?
No, this is Mystico.
Okay. Because I know that there was another guy who wrestled under the Mystico name for a little while when he came to the WWE. But yeah, this one kind of surprised me, given I only know his WWE run, haven't been able to watch anything he's doing. I think he's in CMLL right now, if I'm not mistaken, or is he with AAA?
I'm not sure, but he is also doing stuff with Ring of Honor and All Empty Wrestling.
Okay, so that would be CMLL, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it kind of surprised me, and I guess I got to go back and watch some of Mystico's non-WWE matches.
No, you don't.
Okay.
Still just as bad. I have the list up here myself, so.
Number 9, though, this one, I kind of expected him to be higher.
I am scratching my head at this one.
Gunther, number 9. I thought he would have been at least top 5. At least top 5.
Easy. I would honestly, legitimately, for me, Gunther jumped 7 spots.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Gunther is in the 1 or 2 category.
Yeah. Number 8 also confuses me because I don't see him as a top 10 guy. I've talked about how good of a wrestler he is when he's not doing the BS he did at All Out.
Right.
And that's John Moxley. And Bobby Stats, yeah, coming in saying, I forgot this. He does have a championship with the MLW as well.
Okay.
But again, Moxley, I guess it's his character work maybe that's got him in this spot.
Character work?
Yeah.
Character work? I would have, and I hate to say this, I would put the Hardys in that spot over Moxley for character work. Chris Jericho, R-Truth, Finn Balor for character work.
This next,
he did drop down from number 1 last year or 2 years ago.
yeah, Moxley was having the time of his life, though. He was having some pretty good matches around that time.
Yes, yes, he was.
Number 7, and this one actually doesn't surprise me because I knew he'd be in the top 10 regardless. MJF.
Yep, again, another one. Not so surprised on his positioning just because of his injuries and the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that sort of probably dropped him down the list. Again, I would have, had he not been injured for better part of the past year, I would have had him again in the top 5.
Yeah, wasn't he also dealing with contract stuff with the AEW for that first little bit? Because I do remember we all thought he was leaving AEW.
We all did. Yeah, he took the time off. His contract actually expired during his injury time.
Yeah. Number 6 though, good on this guy because I don't think he was in the top 10 last year, but he's fine. He is there. Damian Priest, what a year he's had though. You know,
He
what a
has.
year.
And I'm going to be honest with you, I would have had him in the top 5.
Yep.
I would have had him probably in Seth Rollins' spot on this list.
Yeah,
If not a little bit higher.
I could see it.
Again, due to the injuries that put Seth out.
Yeah. And let's go on to number 5. And this one doesn't surprise me either because this guy's like in the top 10 of every list every year for best wrestlers. That's Tetsuya Naito. This dude is just awesome. There's just nothing wrong with this dude.
You cannot question him.
No. There's a part of me that I still want to see him in a WWE ring. I really want to see that. But Tetsuya Naito, good on you. You're kicking ass, taking names over in New Japan. I love you, man. Keep that good work up.
Keep it going. Keep on keeping on, Tetsuya.
Yeah. So you already mentioned this boy, but number 4, Seth Rollins. He's had a fantastic year despite the injuries this year. I mean, being involved in one of the biggest angles of the year, that being the CM Punk Drew McIntyre stuff. Dropping the title to Drew, who only then dropped it to Damian Priest at number 6, which, by the way, surprises me that Drew is not in this top 10. Just
it does.
Because Drew's been on top of his game this year.
But Drew has been on top of his game in his promos and his character. The in-ring, and I'm not going to count the times that CM Punk has screwed it. The in-ring has left stuff to be desired. His win-loss record has left stuff to be desired.
Yeah, I mean, the men's Money in the Bank that he won, fantastic match. The strap match he had with Punk, also a fantastic match. The Hell in a Cell match they got coming up is going to be awesome as well.
Right?
But yeah, Seth Rollins here. Yeah, I knew he'd make the top 10. Kind of surprised at the top 5. But again, I can see why they put him in the top 5 because of the year he's been having, despite the injuries, despite the contract and negotiations, everything like that.
I would have had him outside the top 5, still in the top 10. I would probably, like I said, have him and Damian reversed. Because, he would be right in that 6-7 spot with MJF. For me.
Yeah, and number 3, a gentleman I don't think deserves to be in the top 10. Because all he is to me is a spot monkey, and that's Will Ospreay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, there was a time that I did like him, but I've just grown sick and tired of a shtick because every match he does is the same thing.
Right. You know what? And I can honestly see and appreciate where you're coming from. I've only really gotten to start to see Will Ospreay. I had watched him a little bit when he came over and did stuff with TNA. Watched a little bit of his stuff in Japan because I do get to watch it Thursday nights at 10 o'clock on Access TV.
Mm-hmm.
But not enough to really formulate an honest opinion.
Yeah, and see, whereas I've watched everything he's done as far as British wrestling. He did some wrestling in Germany as well, did some wrestling in New Japan, and it's all the same thing.
Right. But I mean, there are so many wrestlers, again, that fall into that category.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Hardy, The Young Bucks. Yes, I'm going there. The
Yeah,
Young
I'm
Bucks are
with you with
spot
the Young
monkey.
Bucks. Yeah, they are. But Jeff,
I
on the
mean,
other hand, has found ways to change himself up a little bit.
I will even go so far as to say a rumored tag team on their way to WWE, the Lucha Brothers.
They also know how to change up a lot some of their things too, and they're going to
Um,
learn in WWE that they can change it up. They can slow the pace down.
um,
Um,
much as we love the guy for his athleticism, Logan Paul, Ricochet, all of these guys fall into that category.
but
Braun Strowman is a spot monkey. I can run around the ring and knock people down.
but here's the thing with some of those dudes, with the exception of of the Young Bucks, they know how to fucking tell a story in the ring. Pardon my language. I don't mean to swear on the show. We're not allowed to drop or not allowed to swear on the
I've
show.
never seen the Bucks tell a story in the ring.
That's why I said with the exception of them, because they don't know how to tell a story in the ring.
Right.
Whereas Will Ospreay doesn't either. Will Ospreay comes in, he's like, he flip, flip, flip for no reason. Like, why are you flipping off this turnbuckle to attack this guy? He doesn't give us the why when he's doing his moves. You
There
know what
is
I mean?
another guy on this list that, I mean, he's changed up, he has adapted and changed his career, but at points he is still a spot monkey as well on this list. And we'll
Are you
get touch
talking?
on him.
Are you talking about our number 2 athlete of the year?
No.
Because that number 2 guy is Swerve Strickland, and Swerve, granted, he can tell a story,
Yes.
but his stories aren't engaging for me, and I do see why he's in at the number 2 spot. I do see that.
Right.
But who is the other man you were thinking about?
Number one.
Cody Rhodes?
Number one.
Cody Rhodes does not.
Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes does not know how to tell a story.
I never said he doesn't know how to tell a story. I did say he can be a spot monkey.
Right, but he knows when to execute those spots. He knows at what point. Like I'm gonna call it out right now, but the triple crossroads, that's his finisher now. It's not just the single crossroads. The single crossroads is now the lead up to the triple crossroads.
Right.
But he does know how to tell the story. He does know like when those spots need to come into play. You know what I mean?
Right. For me, I can even sit here and honestly say, like I said, I would have flipped Priest to number 4. I would have put Gunther up in Swerve's spot. Now, Swerve would not have fallen out of the top 5 for me because he has had an incredible year. Yes, he has done some stupid things in his matches and his rivalry.
I mean, look at the Hangman Page stuff.
That's where I was alluding to.
Yeah.
But you look at what he has done, what he was able to turn his career into this year.
Yeah, because here's a guy who I'm not gonna lie, when he was in the WWE with Top Dollar and B-Fab, he would have just been another face on the roster to me.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who managed to, like, when I know Hunter wanted to sign him back, but he opted to go to AEW because I think he knew that he could be more of a star elsewhere as opposed to the WWE. And I mean, look at what happened to Hit Row. The only one still there is B-Fab.
Ashante is on NXT.
Right. Oh, yeah. See, completely forgot about him. Completely forgot he was even in that stable. Because right now, I mean, the 3 that are standing out is Top Dollar over in TNA for all the wrong reasons. B-Fab, and she's doing fantastic with the Street Profits. And Swerve, and he's doing fantastic in the main event scene in AEW. His promo work, though, Swerve's promo work is still something that needs a little bit of tweaking for me, though.
See, And compared, like, because I always enjoyed his promo work, even in NXT.
Right.
Again, I found him a little bit watered down on the main roster. Now he's able to come out there, express his emotion, tell it through who he is, not this character that he plays. I would not have dropped him down to 9. I would have kept him in the top 5, but probably in that 3-4 spot.
Right.
Just because I think he takes too many stupid risks, especially with all the stuff you went through with Hangman Page, especially after the brutal beatdown you just went through with Bryan Danielson 2 weeks earlier.
Right.
Because this is another guy where now we can look and say potentially next year he's taking most of the year off due to injury.
Yeah, so, and again, number 1, Cody Rhodes. And I understand why he's the number 1 dude.
So do I.
I mean,
he finished the story.
He finished the story and started a new chapter, and we're all on this ride with him still. Here's a guy that, like, if you would have put the belt on Cody Rhodes, say about 6 years ago, we'll say, within 3 months, fans would be tired of him being the champion.
You know what? And I've heard it in person from a friend of mine and their son, who is a legal adult as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not impressed with Cody's run because he can't cut a promo unless he's crying about his dad. BS.
He cut a fantastic promo on Friday.
He hasn't had a single match of interest since WrestleMania.
BS. The match with Kevin Owens was awesome.
So
the matches with AJ Styles were fantastic. The match with Logan Paul was awesome.
Right.
Even the match with Solo. Granted, it felt a little bit like a watered down version of the match with Roman. Still a great match.
Right. So I'm 100% behind Cody being in the number 1 spot. But again, you could have fluctuated him and Gunther, even Priest in there just because of the year.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see Priest or Gunther make their way into that top 3 next year.
Yeah.
Speaking of lists, we're not quite done with the PWI, as there's also a PWI top color commentators list that came out as well.
Yes, this was another one that both Carl and I shared, as you are seeing your surprise live on your TV screen right now.
Yeah, well, not on my TV screen, on my phone in the bottom right-hand corner of my phone. But we've got Alexander Hammerstone coming out to challenge Obafemi. Give me this match all day, every day. Hammerstone, as you guys know, been following him since his early days in MLW. We're talking 6-7 years ago almost. Just
yes.
But no, we've got our top 10. Some of these announcers I'm not too familiar with, and maybe you can fill me in on this. But number 10, we've got Matt Menard from AEW. You're not too familiar with this dude, right?
Not at all.
Okay, so we're going to skip right past this guy because I'm not too familiar with him either. We got Veda Scott from New Japan, first female announcer for New Japan, and that's more than enough right there. This one really surprised me because
she is fantastic, because I remember watching her in Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she was more of a valet and around ringside at the time as opposed to an announcer.
Right.
But her work has always been fantastic.
Okay, so she's one of those ones that you can tell that she's putting in the effort, you know?
Yeah, she's studied, been around the business.
This next one, really surprised me because I thought he was retired from announcing. And it honestly, at the same time, doesn't surprise me that he's in the top 10. But from AAA, Hugo Savinovich is on the list. I
Yes.
love this dude. Absolutely love him. If you've
Yeah.
ever actually like listened to the Spanish feed in WWE, he is what JR was to the English
Oh,
commentary
yeah.
team.
That he is. He is amazing. He had left. He had gone to AEW for a while. His contract just came up with AAA, and the report is he is on his way back to the E.
Bring him back. Bring him back. Put him on the Spanish
Even if
announce team.
he doesn't even need to be on the Spanish announce team. He can do the
He can do the
Michael
English
Cole.
team.
He could be the Michael Cole for the Spanish team and just feed them direction.
Yeah. He can actually. Have you heard Hugo speak English?
Yes.
He speaks really clear English, so he can do
Yes,
the
he
English
does.
announce team if he wanted to. Um, this one perplexes me because you and I are always critical of this guy's commentary. Number 7 is Booker T.
Yeah, not a guy I would have had in my top 10. Mind you, if I did, he would probably be down with in number 10 with where Matt Menard is. And I would put Matt Menard into number 7 just because I don't know who he is.
Okay, so when it comes to Booker T and his commentary, I'm annoyed. I get annoyed at him when I'm watching NXT.
Right.
However, when I watch him on the pre-show panel stuff, I actually enjoy him there. And
Right.
maybe that's only because it's only him in like small spurts where he gives his opinion on a match that's going to happen at the PLE or whatever, you know?
Right. See, but I do find it, and I'm going to say it because I'm going to be just as hypocritical if I don't. He is so back and forth on who he's picking and choosing on commentary. I know that, how many of our famous heel commentators were just as guilty of it, and we love them for it, and yet Booker T is getting all of the flack
Yeah.
from us for it.
I mean, Jerry Lawler used to flip flop every once in a while.
Every once in a while, yeah.
The only time he never really flip flopped was whenever Mr. McMahon was out there because he would
Yeah,
turn into a corporate stooge, as it were, once
yeah.
Vince came out. But no, Booker T, like again, maybe I'll need to go back and see like why he's in the number 7 spot here, but I don't see it right now. I
No,
mean,
me neither.
I do see it if they were counting like what he does on the pre-show panel, because again, what he does on the pre-show panel, I get it. They need a legend there who can lend their in-ring expertise. Booker T is a great guy for that.
Yes. I'm wondering if they're also counting his work with his home promotion, Reality of Wrestling, where he is the owner, still plays a character,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not a commentator, I don't think. I don't know. But if you're talking about his work commentating and analyzing NXT, for me, it's just awful. But again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm remiss and I'd be hypocritical of the fact that if I didn't say how many heel commentators have we had over the years that flip flopped everywhere.
Yeah, and now we're going to move on to the opposite end of the spectrum, and we're going to talk about an announcer whom we've praised because of just how much fun he's having with doing this, and that's at number 6, Pat McAfee. Here's a dude that just he hypes you for the show while the show is going on, and that's exactly what a commentator needs to do.
Right? I would have McAfee within the top 5, probably in the number 3 spot. Just because I think there are a couple people more like Pat McAfee is a great hype guy, fun loving, high energy, but he is not a great analyst when it comes to wrestling. Yes, he's got a little bit of in ring, but he hasn't been around the block enough to really provide great color. Yes, he brought out the patastrator and all of that sort of stuff, in this merger and this new look and new feel that we've had on Raw. But yeah, I would put him in the top 5 easily, but probably in that 3-4 spot as opposed to right up there at number 1.
I think I'd move him switch him around with our next guy, who I also question why he's on this list too. And that's our number 5 guy, and that's Taz with AEW. I'm not sure I get why he's there, because maybe I'm still feeling a little sour about how his announcing in TNA was, because his announcing in TNA was atrocious to me.
I was going to say, I have loved Taz on commentary for a long time. I loved when he was the commentator in TNA.
He said a lot of stupid stuff, though. Like a lot of stupid things.
At times, sure. Which commentator hasn't? Which podcaster hasn't said stupid stuff?
I mean, you and I are guilty of that.
Right? Maybe I should actually mute myself to say my next piece. But no, I see exactly where you're coming from. I would not have Taz in my top 5. I love his commentary. He is a top 10 commentator. As far as AEW goes, best of a bad lot, I guess.
I suppose so, because none of the guys that he does, because I believe he still does commentary with oh my god, why is the master announcer? Why is his name escaping me? Yeah,
Excalibur and Tony Schiavone.
Yeah, none of them are on the top 10. Those two are not in the top 10 for AEW's commentators or commentators in general.
He is the best of a bad lot.
I see. Okay, so I guess I can understand there, because sometimes when I do tune into TNA or AEW, I'll hear Excalibur say something stupid, and then Taz will correct him sometimes.
Taz and Excalibur have a relationship like Graves and Saxton.
Oh, yeah. I felt bad for Byron Saxton during that relationship. But let's move on to number 4, and let's move over to TNA, because Alexander Hammerstone's in the ring on my screen still.
I'm still in commercial, but...
Well, yeah, I'm in commercial too, but they went to commercial during said match. But Matthew Ruholt,
Matthew Ruholt?
Yeah. TNA, number 4. That's the former Aiden English, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
I can see why this is, because I enjoy his work when I get to catch a TNA pay-per-view.
He is fantastic. I love Matthew Ruholt on commentary. He brings that... He does divide his opinion, don't get me wrong. So I know we just criticized Booker T for it. He does divide his opinion, but he is always very level-headed.
He gives a reason for why he does that.
Yeah, and not quite as biased as most others.
Yeah, he gives a reason. Like, I know like his character hates Joe. Say his name, and he appears Joe Hendry.
Right.
Every time Joe Hendry's come out, I've heard him like heavily criticize Joe Hendry, and like he turns full heel on Joe Hendry, and it makes a lot of sense for him to do that, because he is a heel announcer. And during like any of the pay-per-views I've caught him doing the commentary, there are times where I'm like, I want this asshole to shut up.
Yeah,
because that's how I felt when Jerry Lawler was the full-on heel commentator before he went all cartoony, you know?
Right. No, I am thrilled for Matthew Ruholt. This is a guy who retired from in-ring competition and has made this his passion. He's followed it. He's been invited. I believe he did have a reunion match on the independent scene with Simon Gotch as the Vaudevillains, but it was a one-off.
Yeah. I honestly, if this whole TNA thing, if some of the stuff that we speculated on off screen happens, WWE needs to take him on as a commentator.
You know what? I think this would be the perfect commentary team if they do a Worlds Collider in NXT and PLE. Would be Vic Joseph with Tom Hannafin and Matthew Raybold.
Thank you. That's the other TNA announcer I was going to say I'm enjoying is Tom Hannafin. I'm really enjoying his work.
He is a guy that I am surprised did not make this list.
No, another guy that I'm intrigued about because I've only heard his name in inklings. He's our number 3 guy, and maybe you might have some light on him. But that's ROH's Caprice Coleman is our number 3 announcer.
Caprice has been doing the Ring of Honor commentary for a long time, long before they were bought out by a con man.
Okay, so because the last time I was able to catch an ROH show, Kevin Kelly was still the lead announcer there. So
yeah, it was Kevin Kelly and Caprice Coleman. And then after Kevin Kelly went to New Japan, it was Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman.
Yeah.
Caprice, again, always kept that level-headed perspective. Now, he didn't flip-flop one way or the other. He wasn't the babyface commentator, but he wasn't the heel. He was level-headed, the even-keel guy, but always brought the color from his experience in ring.
Right.
So, Caprice Coleman, well-deserved. Again, maybe not so much in the 3 spot, but I haven't heard him commentate in a long time because we don't have ROH on TV anymore.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I'm like, why is there an ROH here? But again, here in Canada, we don't have that access to ROH anymore, sadly.
No, we don't.
But number two also intrigued me because he's still kind of a rookie at it, and I'm happy that he made it to the number 2 spot, and that's WWE's Wade Barrett.
You know, for us who are pro WWE, we haven't got to listen to what he had done prior to this in the NWA. We've watched him since he was on NXT, then his move up to SmackDown, his move over to Raw. I am 100% behind this.
Mm-hmm.
Wade Barrett, for me, hands down, should probably be in that number 1 spot. Again, he's a guy that's kept it level-headed as opposed to being this overall heel commentator.
Yeah, again, because he's a heel announcer, but he gives a reason for why he's a heel announcer. He gives a reason for why he would pick the Judgment Day over Kofi Kingston or something like that, right. You know?
And even though we're seeing face tendencies out of him, being the whisperer in Drew McIntyre's ear.
Yeah, with the whole situation that's going on with them right now.
Yeah.
But I want to say this, OMD, because I don't think you knew this, but I got to see Wade Barrett before NXT. He was on a house show that I went to in Barrie, Ontario with Justin Gabriel prior to NXT. Yeah.
I didn't see him prior to NXT, or not commentary. I saw him as an active competitor.
Yeah, so did I. Him and Justin Gabriel, again, one-on-one match. This was about 2 weeks before NXT even started.
I have the team t-shirt at home. I have the Nexus t-shirt.
Yeah, I love that. I love that shirt, by the way. I actually got to hear Wade Barrett do some commentary prior to WWE as well, because he became the general manager for What Culture Pro Wrestling for a time. And he actually was an actual general manager. Like it wasn't it was both an on-screen and an actual role that he had. And
Right.
he did get to do some commentary there, and there were inklings that he was going to be a great commentator at that time.
Right. See, and I didn't get to watch a lot of the NWA when it was on YouTube.
Yeah, I didn't really
Um,
either.
a little bit when I would go and visit Carl, but you could hear it because he brought his experience from being in the ring.
Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing that he talks about too. Like when you listen to his commentary, yeah, sure, he's going to cheer for the top heel, but he's also giving a reason. He also tells you the reason why, like, why does Solo Sokoa got Cody Rhodes in a Boston Crab? He'll explain like why Solo
Yeah,
is where doing that, you know.
yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of wrestlers who do a lot of explaining as far as their commentary goes, from what I remember, our number one commentator, we're staying in England for this one, Nigel McGuinness from AEW.
Yes, very, very interesting choice. I can't say I've listened to a lot of his commentary on AEW.
But you do remember his commentary when he was with the WWE, correct?
I do a very little bit because I know he was on NXT, but with the NXT UK, I didn't watch it that much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I can't say that he would have been a top 5 pick for me, but that's just based on me not having heard him.
Yeah, there's something about Nigel McGuinness's voice for me that always relaxes me when I'm watching him, listening to him do
Right,
commentary, and I like the way that he tells the story that's being told in the ring, and I get that that's why he's more than likely the number one announcer right now.
right.
And
Um,
if I'm AEW, I'm capitalizing it on him, and I'm taking Excalibur off and putting him with Taz, maybe.
right. But
Tony.
the problem there is you then get 2 heel announcers.
Well, you can have Tony in there as the middleman, and you can
Yeah,
turn Nigel into a babyface analyst. Nigel would be great at it. He was a babyface analyst in WWE, so.
yeah.
Or you could do that with Taz, but then Taz would go all hokey and cartoony, like he kind of did in
There
TNA.
are some names like I said, I don't know who this Matt Menard is at number 10. So I probably would have dropped Booker T down there. Um, I would probably actually have Wade Barrett in my number 1 spot.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
these are the color commentators, by the way, not the lead commentators. I haven't seen that list
yes.
yet.
Um, so color commentators. Because I was going to say, okay, because that's why we didn't see Tom Hannafin on the list, and it's color commentators.
Yeah, he's a play-by-play guy.
Um,
Otherwise, Michael Cole would probably be at the top of this list.
right? Um, because I'm going to be honest, there's a name that is not on this list that has me absolutely astonished. I know you're not a huge fan of this guy, but Corey Graves.
I am a fan of Corey Graves. I just wasn't a fan of him bullying Byron Saxton.
See, I've always looked at it as through the scripted idea and the Vince yelling in the commentator's ears.
Yeah, and it's it still made me uncomfortable hearing that because I know Byron
So
is actually because I know Byron is actually good at what he does. He is. I will give
so
him that, you know.
right. So I mean, for me, like a Corey Graves belongs in this top 10 list.
Mm-hmm.
Ahead of Booker T, ahead of Matt Menard, probably in the top 5. I mean, you'd be looking at Wade Barrett, Pat McAfee, and Corey Graves in your top 5.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm great with the diversity from all of the companies for it for color commentary, as opposed to it's all just AEW, WWE. I'm
Yeah,
happy to see Ring of Honor. I'm happy to see TNA.
and like I said, I'm happy with AAA with Hugo Savinovich making that list because, again, I thought he was retired from doing commentary, but here we are, 2024. He's still doing it.
Yep.
But on that note, we're well past our 1 hour limit
We are.
because of the fact that we had two top 10 lists come out that we needed to discuss. What do you say
We
we?
kept those top 10 lists and we kept those top 10 lists analytics short per person.
Yeah. What do you say we give out the socials there?
Absolutely.
All right, let's
Ooh.
go right on ahead.
If the people want to find me right now, they can find me on Facebook, Daniel Harisic, HRYCYK. On Snapchat at One Man Dynamic, capitals on OM&D. On Twitch at OMD17 and on Discord, OMD6370. Coming soon, I will have my very own link tree.
Yeah, and I will be working on my link tree on Thursday at the latest. But here is my library of social media platforms that you can find me on. You can find me at youtube.com at CBRS Entertainment, twitch.tv CBRS _ entertainment, threads.net at CBestFilms83, facebook.com Chris.best83, tiktok.com CBRS.entertainment. And if you want to find all of our shows, well, actually, OMD, before I play our commercial and end off our show, what are those famous words that Carl usually says to us?
In the immortal words of Carl Carafel, ladies and gentlemen, the world is a scary place. Take care of each other. From all of us here at Turnbuckle Studios, good night, good luck, we out.
Yeah, we'll be out once I can hide this thing. Having a little bit of a lag trouble here.
You're old.
I am. There it goes. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Yay for end of the show bloopers, guys.
Okay.
There it goes.